Hello. Namaste, beautiful souls. Welcome back to tarot card readings for 2023. This is the 5th reading, and in this video, I'm doing a reading for the Death card, the 13th Arcanum. And if you have missed the previous videos that I've done today, you can go back, and there was a bit of an orientation video at 8 a.m. this morning. It was called How to Calculate Your Tarot Card of the Year, where I explained the spread that I'm using as well as the decks. But all of the decks are linked in the description box below. So let's get started with the reading for the Death card. Welcome, Tamian. Thank you for being here again. So, Death. This card is the significator, if you will, for Scorpio season. This is a water card. This is a fixed water card. I want to say one of the most important major arcana in the tarot. And to be working with this as a theme for a year is quite profound. And working with one's relationship with death and what that means. This energy, of course, is fueled by the Chariot, which is the number for 2023. Hard to get that right, 2023, if you can believe it. And if you think about Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork, if you're familiar with her artwork. And I'm just looking at the cat on the left side of the card. And thinking about death on the horse, moving towards the right side of the card. And what that represents. And what I'm feeling here is a very much of a being in the process. And this year could be one of completely severing ties. Sometimes I feel like the purpose of this card is so that you can, it's a card of rebirth of sorts. So in letting go of the past, whether you have experienced loss of life, loss of home, loss of limb, you fill in the blank. These are all very challenging experiences that tend to linger on for years and years. And this is a card that asks us to sit in contemplation of what life feels like. This card has deep connections to many other cards in the tarot. I'm channeling my guy. This many other cards, but I was thinking about the wheel, which is one that we talked about a few videos ago. And then because I'm using the Margaret Peterson Tarot, let's talk a little bit about the planetary energy that's here. And also I want to talk about the elemental energy and what all of this means. So if we're talking about Scorpio season, and in Scorpio season, we are asked to go into the darkness. It is required of us to go into the darkness. And how dive we deep it's entirely up to you. But I think there's an opportunity in a death year to really go down to the bottom of the pool and pick that thing up and have a really good look at it in the face so that you can let it go. And until you completely look it square in the eye, I don't think you can let it go. And so sometimes with this particular card, it wouldn't surprise me if the 3 of Swords came up here. And the reason for that is that a lot of people go on and on and on and on in their grieving process. And I'm thinking of a lot of divorcees that I know. It's really, really difficult. But there comes a time, if we are to live, to truly live, we need to look that thing in the face, to complete, we need to complete the process. And so there's been some, we don't tend to travel through the tarot in order, but I feel like there's been some incomplete processing between the 10 and the 13. And so here we get a chance to completely wind things up. It is such a beautiful depiction. Now, Scorpio is ruled by Jupiter, correct? Scorpio. I need to open my chart because I'm going to be tired here shortly, and I want to make sure I'm not stepping on my... and also, when I am referring to planetary associations, yes, I will be looking at the original 7 planets. Okay, so no, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Fixed water Mars. Fixed water Mars. Why am I thinking Jupiter? Oh, because that's Sagittarius. Okay. My apologies. So where I'm going here is that, so with the Martian energy, the martial energy, there can be tremendous discomfort in diving into the water. And what this reminds me of are conversations. You hear people say, "Oh yeah. She left years ago. I'm fine. I'm fine." And anytime you hear somebody say, "I'm fine," they're not fine. What I often ask clients is, tell me about your process of grief. Get them to describe their journey through grief. Because a lot of times people haven't grieved whatever the loss is. So anyway, I don't want to go on and on about this. I want to go ahead and draw your cards here. So there's this relationship between the fire of Mars and the water of Scorpio, and this freedom that is depicted here in diving into, and here we see the waters of consciousness, the waters of pure consciousness, the flow of pure consciousness. And look how light and free this being looks compared to the bony skeleton we see here. It's really a good card. It's a good card to sit with. Okay. All right, I'm shuffling the water suit, and we'll do 1 card in each suit, supported by an oracle card. And this is for the death reading for 2023. Okay, so kind of makes sense, right? 5 of Cups. What I'm drawn to today in this card, I've been working with this deck. I did a deep dive into the Margaret Peterson. I don't know if you saw it in my channel, but there's a lot of videos on this deck if you want to go back and look at it. But what I'm picking up on here today are those 3 little drops that are about to fall into the ocean. And the message I'm getting here for you is that in the process of letting go, you help so many people. When you let go, others can let go. So that those little drops that are falling into the ocean, you've heard this metaphor so many times, right? But this each time you let go, your energy frees another's contraction. And there is so much peace in that, so much peace. And we're able to see things in such a different way. All right, so from the Canto G Oracle, your card is, your feet are two fish. Wow, isn't that a cool card? I haven't drawn this one yet. Your feet are two fish. And think about this in terms of diving into the water, of swimming, of the action of flow. This is a really, really good card. Now I want to go to fire because while the idea of letting go, and that can be daunting, right? And if you need support with that, please reach out. I do work with people individually through many processes, and sometimes people need tools, so I'm here for that. All right, your fire card is right here, and it is 10. Wow, and in this particular card, where the frame has become very gold, we see the phoenix rising from the back of the soul. Imagine what that would feel like. Imagine the unburdening, that sensation of unburdening, and where that might take you. This doesn't really help in giving us a specific action, but I want to also say surrendering to the process of a new you, surrendering to the process of a rebirth of sorts. And often there is so much fear. There is so much fear in that because we don't know where we're going. We don't know what it looks like on the other side. And if you look at the card in the center, you see it's beautiful. It's peaceful. All right, from the Enchanted Map. Hmm. 22, intention. Intention. You know, there's something people say all the time, and that is, if you don't ask, you won't receive. And I find a lot of the time people walk around expecting spirit just to respond. And there's very little interaction with spirit. And probably there's a lack of trust. In the process of understanding your losses, releasing the hold that the loss has over you. And looking it square in the eye and asking, here's the thing, we need to ask for the space. We need to ask for the space to move on. And this may not be necessarily, well, let's use the example of the loss of a home. Perhaps you've lost your home through a hurricane, or some other natural disaster. I remember when I lost my family home. My mother died, and I had to sell the house. And I dreamed about the foundation of that house for years and years and years. The house was so solid. You smelled cedar everywhere in the house. All of the closets were cedar lined. And I spent a lot of time in the basement with my dad in his workshop. And it took years to let go of that, to let go of the guilt around having to sell the house that my parents built in the 60s, the lot that they selected. And unfortunately, guilt is a big part of all of this. And so somehow we need to understand that it's not ours to carry. Now, there was something I said a few moments ago that was leading me to the suit of air. But where I want to go with this in the process of managing loss and the potential transformation, the asking for support, and all of this, the voice, that's what I was talking about. The voice. That's right, Donna, I did. We can cleanse the guilt through vocalizing. There is a magic connection between the waters of the second chakra, where guilt lives, and I find this is going to be really interesting to see what comes up in the devil card reading, because there are so many correspondences between death and the devil. And in Scorpio season, we dive deep into Swadhisthana. And it's almost as if the Capricorn energy is about the processing of those lessons and what our response to those lessons, hopefully not our reactions. And all of that is beautifully released through breath, voice, but particularly the articulation of in releasing the guilt. And here is the beautiful Ace of Feathers. So that truth, your what would you like to feel like without carrying that? Imagine how differently your body would feel by releasing all of that energy from your back. Imagine the possible transformation in your physical stature if you could let it go. So I see the peacock feather here, the Ace of Feathers, asking you to define your truth, to speak your truth. This is a beautiful tarot deck to shuffle, by the way, in case you don't have the Tulku Oracle. Okay. There are, in this deck, a few mantra cards. And the practice of mantra, the oral vocalization of mantra, this could be a sacred sound in your own language. The higher the frequency of the sound, the better. It does not have to be from the Sanskrit language. But the repetition of sacred sound has a profound effect on the processing of guilt and many, many of the issues connected to the second chakra. The second chakra is where our karmas, this is where we're birthed into this third dimension, live. And it is through, if you will, the waters of the fifth dimension that we are birthed into something much greater, into our awakening, into our spirituality. And so here we release in the water, we release the water, and here we release through the voice. And I'm just going to get you the this mantra. This is a Tibetan mantra. I practice, the mantras that I practice are different. And this one is Tat Twam Asi. Tat Twam Asi. Tat Twam Asi. Tat means that. Right. Okay, so this would equate to the mantra that I practice with a japa is so hum. So if you're familiar with that practice, this is a very similar frequency. Tattvamasi means I am that. This mantra represents the interconnectivity of all beings and the awareness that everything in our experience is a reflection of ourselves. And then take those words and look into the card in the center. The practice that I was talking about moves the mantra from the solar plexus chakra to the throat chakra and back and forth between the solar plexus chakra and the throat chakra with the intention of purifying and eventually releasing the guilt, among other things. Okay. Now, all of this process definitely needs to be grounded. So let's go here to the earth and ask how is this to be grounded? I absolutely love that your feet are fish. This is such a beautiful invitation to dive, right? To dive into the water, fearlessly dive into the water. Okay, apparently you want this one. All right, so this is the minor arcana that is associated with right now. And so when I say that, I'm feeling, okay, this is about presence. This is about being here in this moment, experiencing this reading, digesting this reading. The Two of Pentacles, if you go back through history, usually this is some sort of an Ouroboros shape where the snake is, right? The snake is eating its tail. And we see this this particular shape all the way back through the Tarot de Marseille. It's been incorporated in lots of different contemporary decks as well, too. And the idea here is the recycling of life. As I was talking about in the beginning, the whole idea of rebirth through transformation. And then, okay, granted, there are a lot of feet in this suit, but we have this important conversation here between these two cards. And so I want to invite you to look at those two cards and think about the depths to which you can dive in order to restore balance in your life. This is the tarot card where the creators left their imprint. They left their marks. Another thing I'm seeing, picking up on here, is the water-earth balance, the water-earth connection. This feels like a beautiful segue to the Temperance card that's coming up. I'm going to read to you your message from the Shaman's Oracle. Spirit of Empowerment. This is the suit of ether in this deck. So this is the highest frequency suit. Earlier on, I was talking about fear, the fear that holds us back. And I don't see that. I feel that there is awareness of realization that this work is required at this time. And so from the Spirit of Empowerment, I hold you in the palm of my hand and fill you with the determination and drive that allow you to successfully accomplish any task you undertake and overcome any obstacle that stands in your way. I bring you the energizing emotion of a deep-seated self-belief, which will transform and strengthen you in every aspect of your life. And so this guide will be at your back and holding you through the small losses that you experienced this year. But each and every loss is a reminder of your connection to all things, all beings. And at the same time, understanding that each small loss is a reflection of a larger unprocessed loss. And that your work this year with the Death card is to sit with that more deeply, to face it, to release it, and to find your truth in the freedom it creates. Tat Tvam Asi. Namaste.